The Cape Corridor has halted operations on the Cape Main Line because of infrastructure damage resulting from heavy rainfall in March. Two sections of the rail formation between Beaufort West and Worcester were affected, causing disruptions to both freight trains and the Blue Train. Now, Transnet Freight Rail says service roads are currently being repaired. Let's bring in Bonginkosi Mabaso, who is the Chief Commercial Officer of Transnet Freight Rail, for more. Bonginkosi, if we were to paint what the picture looks like at the moment, I mean, what was the cause of this rail system collapsing, and how bad is it?
Good morning to you and your viewers, and thank you so much for having me. So we've had quite a number of challenges in our rail network and infrastructure, particularly the incident that you're alluding to, where we've had washaways in our line. But that's not our biggest challenge as it stands now as Transnet, because that was resolved and the line was reopened for operations, and we currently are operating trains. Our biggest challenge remains the locomotives that we do not have available in service as a result of the impasse between ourselves and CRRC and cable theft incidents and vandalism that we see in our network. Those are the biggest volume eaters as it stands now, and as a result, we are severely impacted by those two.
And obviously, Bonginkosi, when you talk to commuters and people who use the road, they'll tell you that something needs to be done in getting as many trucks off the road as possible. Are you as Transnet assisting in fast-tracking that process? Is it something that you think about in the boardroom, in your planning committees as well?
Absolutely. There's a lot of work that is currently on the go in an effort to alleviate some of these challenges. When it comes to the security incidents, for example, if you compare the prior year, 2021-22, between 2021-22 and 22-23, we were able to reduce the number of incidents by 30%. We had cables stolen for about 1,600 kilometers in 2021-22. Last year, the number reduced to about 1,100 kilometers. But however, that still remains a significant portion of our network that is impacted by cable theft. We are not sitting back and watching this as it unfolds. There's a lot of work that currently is on the go, some of which has resulted in a 30% reduction in incidents and cable length stolen. As it stands now, as recent as a couple of weeks ago, we awarded a new contract to a service provider that's going to now offer us an outcomes-based security service where we pay service providers on the basis of the achievements in terms of reducing incidents on the line and also cables, length of cable stolen. So that will have a significant impact, and we really are focused on getting as much of the cargo that sits on road onto rail as possible. Secondly, to the issue of locomotives, you are aware of the minister's visit to China that took place a couple of weeks ago. Other than that, we remain resolute in trying to find other service providers as it stands now that are refurbishing these locomotives and bringing in on board the parts that we require to make these locomotives readily available for service. That is having an impact already, as it were, on reducing trucks that are on the road and moving the product onto rail.
And what's the way forward right now? Because we are still looking at a situation where we don't see a lot of the locomotives making the up and down turns between the ports and Johannesburg and outside of the country, right? I imagine there's a timeline attached to that as well, which is why I'm asking, where to from now?
Absolutely. So as it is now, we've got a plan mapped out where we've seen some of the locomotives being brought back into service in April already. In the month of May, we also had a sizable number from our other OEMs other than CRRC, where we're having challenges. In June, we also are expecting quite a number of units to be brought back into service as well. But most importantly, as I've indicated, when it comes to locomotives, the biggest impact will come at the time when we are able to find each other with CRRC, of course, as we've indicated, with the intervention of the Department of Public Enterprise through the visit by the ministry, which took place a couple of weeks ago. Other than that, even when it comes to security, as I've indicated, we are quite resolute in getting high-tech solutions being implemented in the line through the service provider, of course, that has been identified. So there's a lot of work. And just to qualify all as well, please be mindful that the challenges that we allude to are not across the board in our network. If you look at our Cape Corridor, for example, where we run mostly manganese, there's a lot of work that is on the go there. We've recently announced a new project where we are implementing 1.5 million tons of new capacity that we are making available to the industry by 1st of July. That will be quite a sizable number that will see to about 40,000 trucks being removed off the road. As it stands now, we are working on a new solution also into Cape Town, where we are expanding. We are working on a solution to East London. We are also expanding. So literally, there's a lot of work that is to see to the number of trucks that are on the road being reduced.
And I imagine within that conversation, it would also mean job creation for some who obviously need the employment within the corridor areas, right? That was Bonginkosi Mabaso, who speaks for and is the Chief Commercial Officer at Transnet Freight.